Chapter 492. For a long time, Duke Tane had been using the family's assets as he pleased without consultation, wielding his authority recklessly and squandering over half of the once considerable fortune. Most of the personal land and money he had owned had either been squandered or invested recklessly ages ago. When the news spread that the Duke was under investigation, a storm of whispers followed, claiming that the overseas investment projects he had initiated under the family name were also fraught with chronic financial issues. Those who had tolerated delayed payments solely because of the name of the Tane family began to raise an uproar. Scandals that had been suppressed through the power of his authority burst forth one after another. Priscilla Van Tane, the newly designated heir of the Tane dukedom, was so swamped with handling the multitude of communications that she sent word she could not attend her father's trial, creating a significant ripple among the aristocracy. To make matters worse, even the men sent by Duke d'Arca to assist Duke Tane returned to Duke d'Arca, shaking their heads as they found no viable solutions. And it was more than just a rumor. The real issue was that Duke Tane had not gratefully accepted the help offered by d'Arca. Eventually, Duke d'Arca discreetly withdrew his prior support before Duke Tane's trial, skillfully distancing himself. Rumors circulated among the Crown Prince's supporters that, in private, Duke d'Arca had referred to Duke Tane as the epitome of foolish blood expelled by the Tane family, declaring there was no need to waste even a penny on helping him. Duke Tane defended himself by blaming the southern merchants for providing incorrect information, but public opinion was not in his favor. It didn't help that during his investigation, not only had he lost his aristocratic composure, but had even physically assaulted the investigating officers, demanding they bring in the southern merchants. Rumor has it he was so addicted to gambling that he spent millions daily at high-end gambling houses. The Tane family is almost out of both land and money. Even the ancestral mansion was mortgaged to a foreign country, and everyone found out too late. He was so desperate to solve the issues that he even sold off treasures passed down since the founding of the country. What a waste. I feel sorry for the heir. I wouldn't be surprised if the stubborn old man of the Tane family assassinate the Duke before the trial even ends. The rumors spread like wildfire, thanks in part to the discreet efforts of the Emperor and his subordinates. Using information collected by the officials he had dispatched to the West, the Emperor launched an effective public relations campaign. He made it appear as if the problem lay solely with Duke Tane, who had dragged his family and heirs into disrepute. This tactic had a far greater effect than anyone involved had anticipated. Those who had supported him because of his name began to betray Duke Tane one by one as the situation grew dire. Cunning individuals like Baron Wilhelm had long since shown their willingness to admit that everything had been done under Duke Tane's orders. Witnesses to the acts committed by Duke Tane also expressed their intent to appear in the related trials. Among them was the leader of the Western Mage Union, Micklin Punt, and his mages, Baron Kjold, who had been monitoring the actions of Baron Wilhelm all along. Awakeners who had narrowly avoided becoming victims of human trafficking, and even participants in the illegal auctions, hoping to lighten their own crimes. Evidence and testimonies abounded. The true nature of a man who had neither the skill to win allies, nor social influence, nor ability was exposed to all to see even before the trial began. The courtroom, where not even the Duke's wife had appeared, was filled to capacity with people who had come to witness the downfall of a man once deemed one of the most noble in the empire. Before them, Duke Tane cut a pitiful figure, hiding behind those who spoke in his defense. Though Duke Tane acted as if he knew much about his own schemes, he actually knew nothing substantial. He couldn't even remember how much he had gambled or which items he had smuggled, without someone to rely upon. So began the pathetic trial, devoid of any expectation that the Duke would prevail, contrasting sharply with the prestige of the four great ducal houses. At that moment, the 12 fountains, symbolizing the 6 walls of the imperial capital, initiated their semi annual water replacement. The ancient and beautiful fountains, just by undergoing their water replacement, always drew crowds. And where there is crowd is one place, it means fewer people elsewhere. Thus, within the normal busier fifth wall, 6 people gathered, dressed in a way that attracted no attention. Naturally, these were Yudhir and his companions, who had escaped from their cavalry headquarters in civilian attire for today's task and had arrived near the location of the planned transaction. Wow, it's really odd how few people there are. Is this fountain water replacement really that interesting? I heard from some locals today that mages from the Imperial Mage office come out and change the water over the course of half a day. It must be quite the spectacle. Hin answered Devran's question. Seriously? It takes half a day just to handle 12 fountains? The guys in our cavalry who deal with water would do better job. Exactly. If Yudhir did it, it would be over in a second. ... Yudhir remained silent, watching his colleagues puffing up with pride. The common sense answer that the reason for today's low turnout was not only the fountain water replacement but also Duke Dane's trial seemed irrelevant here. Choosing the day when the attention of the entire capital is most scattered must have been intentional. Up to this point, most of the people they had seen were engrossed in one of the 2 major events, making it a perfect day for a clandestine transaction. Hey, there is a suspicious guy over there. Then Enon, with his craggy face standing next to Yudhir, spoke up. He pointed to a man lugging a large bag, wandering around and approaching them. Though the man seemed to make an effort to look unsuspicious, Yudhir could clearly see the caution and flaws in his behavior. He's not used to this kind of thing. What he's carrying must be money. After making his assessment, Yudhir signaled to his companions. Looks like the Diarca side has arrived. Focus and be careful not to get caught. Gakane, do as we discussed earlier. Yes. Gakane nodded and expanded the size of the shadow clone that had so far concealed its presence. From a distance, it looked like an impenetrable darkness, making it difficult to see what lay within. A person from Diarca's side glanced around before entering the building indicated by the address on the note. The place appeared to be a rather ordinary house. Not long after, another group appeared from the opposite direction. 5 individuals, their faces hidden beneath travelers' cloaks, drew near. The man in front looks fairly old, and the ones behind him are young men and women. Is he the leader of the group? Yudhir thought. While Yudhir and his team observed, the group stopped in front of their target house and knocked on the door. It soon opened. Only after they had filed in did Yudhir's team exhale the breath they had been holding. Phew. Are those 5 the healers? Most likely. It's hard to tell if they are awakeners just by looking at them. Definitely, Yudhir asserted, eliciting expressions of awe from the other members. How can you be so sure? Can you sense it? It's not so much about sensing. If an awakener is using their abilities, I can faintly see if I concentrate. You can see that? Ever since I recovered from injuries in the West, my eyes have improved. Yudhir had been able to vaguely see the flow of energy emanating from awakeners before, but since his eye of magic had opened, this perception had significantly sharpened. He could clearly see the transparent aura emanating from the body of the man in the lead, even though they were quite far away. Whatever the man was doing, he was continuously using some kind of ability. Speaking of which, after Gakane recovered from his injuries, his shadow clone ability improved. Does our power grow every time we recover from injuries? Uh, well, now that I think about it, my own abilities did improve after I nearly died in Harton, Devron recalled as he responded to Hint's curious question. Either concerned that his promising young members might willingly injure themselves to gain power like in a previous life, immediately issued a warning. Don't even think about risking yourselves like that. There is no guarantee that you'll always become stronger after recovering from an injury. Better to just concentrate on regular training. As if we would do something as ridiculous as jumping off a cliff to improve our abilities, you underestimate us either. Finn chuckled, feigning weakness. His innocent yet mischievous expression betrayed no hint of the grim fact that, in a previous life, some members had actually attempted such foolhardy acts. But do we just keep waiting like this until they come out? I'm getting impatient. Should Finn and I teleport inside the second floor of that house and eavesdrop? There is no need to take such risks. We already know what the transaction entails. We stick to the original plan and follow the healers once they leave. They seem to be coming out already. Gakane, who had been steadily enlarging the shadow clone, quietly spoke. True to his words, the door of the house where the people had entered creaked slightly. A moment later, the door opened and the envoy from Diarca, along with the 5 healers, emerged. Yudir quickly changed the direction of the wind so that their conversation could be heard more clearly. All checks have been completed. You have accurately given all 500,000. We are also pleased with the new accommodations you have provided. Please pass on our thanks. Understood. If you encounter any discomfort during your stay, feel free to speak up. I shall take my leave now. The man from the Diarca faction bowed deeply to the healers. As he did, Yudir felt an odd sense of discomfort. The man's demeanor was now overly familiar and polite, a stark contrast to the apprehension and caution he'd exhibited upon entering. Once the man from Diarca turned his back and left, the healers collectively removed their hats they had been wearing. Their faces seemed to brighten as they exhaled in relief. One among them turned to an older individual and spoke cheerfully. Sage, you have worked hard. Starting today, this will be our new lodging. Did I hear that right? Sage? Devron, who had overheard the conversation, questioned with a smirk. However, what he said went unnoticed, for Yudir was deeply stunned by something else. Whose face is that?